Welcome to Socrates in the City. Some of you, I think, know the story of Mosab Hassan Yousef. I have to say that it was an extraordinary thing to be able to get Mosab to come tonight. I was actually down at the 700 Club, and I'm not down there very often. Those of you who know me know that I don't hang out at the 700 Club, but I was down there, and they said that they had this guest on, but they couldn't tell me who it was. And I said, "What do you mean you get?" I was going to be a guest, to hawk one of my books, and they said that we've got this guest, but we can't tell you who the other guest is. And I said, "What do you mean? That's absurd." And they said, "Well, security reasons." I thought, okay. And well, when I got down there, I found out who it was, and I have to say I was surprised that it was Mosab. And I heard his story, and I hadn't really paid attention. Mosab's story has been all over the news, but it's one of those rare things where I didn't really pay close attention. I sort of got it, but I didn't pay such close attention. But I heard his story while I was down there, and I'll be honest with you, I was absolutely staggered. I said, this is one of the most amazing stories on at least two levels that I've ever heard. I made some inquiries because I thought this would just be spectacular if we could get him to come to Socrates in the City. I knew that the odds of it would be low, but I said, we'll give it a shot. And I believe we succeeded. Yes, he's here. Good. But I have to say, this is a story. It's a strange, amazing story. It's a unique story. It's not very unique. It's unique. You can only be unique. You can't modify unique, okay? Did you know that? Okay, I'm a writer. I was an English major. You're not supposed to use an adjective in front of, adverb in front of unique. You're either unique or you're not unique, okay? This story is unique. It's one of a kind. And I know, BJ, follow me. We'll talk later. But I'll explain it later. I'll break it down. But he's one of my friends. He knows Rich Egan. But it's a unique story. And I know most of you know the basics of the story, but I'll rehearse them for you if you don't know. We had handouts on most of the seats so you can read them. By the way, these handouts come courtesy of World Magazine. I believe the editor of World Magazine could be in the building. He hasn't arrived yet? No. Yes? World Magazine, raise your hand. He's way back there. Don't be shy. It's a good magazine. Yes. And anyway, but they did an article, and I thought that would sort of sum things up for you. But this is one of those stories that sort of defies summing up in some ways. Here's the bottom line, which I hope you all know. Mosab grew up as the eldest son of one of the men who founded what we know today as Hamas. He was very much a part of that world. By the way, his book is available tonight, and I have to say, I've read the book recently. It's an amazing book. It is an education, an absolute education, to get a point of view from somebody who was in the middle of this, and from his point of view, not from an American point of view, or not even from an Israeli point of view, but from a point of view of somebody who is inside the world of Hamas. It is an absolute education and a revelation, and I don't recommend books lightly. This book is really something. I hope you all will buy it. If you all buy it tonight, we'll run out of copies, but get it online. It is truly an amazing book. But the story is that Mosab, from the inside, began to become disillusioned with what he was seeing. He was arrested by the Israelis for whatever they thought was terrorist activities, troublemaking. At a very young age, at age 18, he was brutalized by the Israelis when he was in captivity. He was imprisoned and tortured. Anybody else been tortured in the room? I'm just curious. No, I didn't think so. Neither have I. And reading about it is a disturbing thing to think that people are treated this way. But it really it's a harrowing tale in the book of what he went through. And I have to say that the most amazing thing is that somehow in the midst of it all, he began to see things differently. And ultimately, again, you know this, went to work for the Shin Bet, for the Israelis, because what he saw was so disillusioned with what was going on in the midst of everything. If that's not enough, he also began to consider the teachings of Jesus, and this all began to affect him very, very dramatically. Ultimately, he gave his life over to Jesus. all the while working for the Shin Bet, for the Israeli intelligence against Hamas. I mean, there's just no way to underscore this. This is very, very dramatic to make such decisions in one's life, even if you feel it's the right thing to do, to actually do it. My admiration for Mosab is huge. We had dinner last night. I was able to ask him some more questions, and it's just it's very hard to describe. So we're going to let him do that tonight. We're going to let him talk to you. We were going to have sort of a conversation, but as we spoke last night, I thought this is somebody who really ought to just tell you his story. We will have ample time, as we always do, for Q&A. So prepare your questions, and please keep them very short because we want to get to a lot of them. But what Mosab has to say is nothing less than revolutionary, and that's a word that gets thrown around. But so please, a warm Socrates in the city. Welcome from Mosab Hassan Yousef.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, and good evening, everybody. It's a great privilege to be here. I'm overwhelmed. Please excuse my broken English. I say all the time that there is English, and there is English for foreigners, and there is English for me. In fact, I enjoyed Brothers Eric's sense of humor. That's really amazing. As an appetizer for the crazy stuff that we're going to talk about. Lots of violence, torture, and betrayal. Hopefully I know how to represent it in a nice way. I'll do my best. So, Son of Hamas is out. I would love to share with you that this came on a very high price. I was disowned by my family, and to my people, I'm a traitor. To some Christians in the Middle East, I'm a Judas. To some people here in the United States, I am doing this for money. Others are accusing me that I'm doing this for the green card. And others are saying that I'm exaggerating. And on every front, I'm facing almost the entire world, working under lots of pressure. And I'm just wondering, why? Why everybody they don't want to hear the truth? Why the enemies are being friends and finding a common ground to attack me? What's the interest of the Homeland Security to deport me from the United States while Hamas is threatening my life? Are they working for the same agenda all of a sudden? And I'm just shocked with the facts. But I am at lots of peace because I believe that I did the right thing. And I think I'm very happy that the Lord gave me the strength to make this happen and to write this book. Not because I'm the greatest writer. By the way, I am not a writer. I'm just an author. And I had my ghostwriter to write it. Maybe my writing skills are not good, especially in English. And I am very happy that I can provide you with this amazing story. Now I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about this child who grew up in that crazy environment. Grew up for a religious family. And tell me about religion and how much I appreciate religion. I understand and I appreciate the importance of religion, but I'm not religious, and I don't think that any religion, can take anybody to heaven. And people who are trying to use religion or do more works, in order to get to heaven, I'm telling them, after changing different religions and gods, I tell you, this is not the way. Maybe I'm 32 years old, but I think I have enough experience with religion and religious people. This is not our main theme to talk about tonight, but I grew up in a religious family. One of the most conservative religious families in the Middle East. So I'm not just coming from a traditional Muslim background. I know what Islam is all about. More than 99% of Muslims. And when I say about anything about Islam, please to take it seriously. And when those guys come try to discredit what I'm saying, you have the authority to tell them that you don't know what you're talking about. Islam was our project. It's a business of our family. My father, my grandfather, we started the Islamic revolution, Sunni revolution in the Middle East. My father established the Muslim Brotherhood first. When I say established, he wasn't the only one, but he was a very important partner in that process. Side by side with other Muslim Brotherhood leaders, they established the Muslim Brotherhood. Then after that, with other 6 Hamas leaders, they established the Islamic resistance movement, Hamas. And I was young at that age, but you can say that I grew up as Hamas grew up at the same time. And I thought that Islam is the answer, is the solution for everything, not only for Palestinians, but to the entire world. And those are the goals of Islam, that we need to spread Islam to all nations in order to establish an Islamic global state. And our goals are noble goals. This is how Muslims believe. And this is why they are driven and they're willing to die for their beliefs. Their noble goals to bring justice and happiness to humanity. Now, their God mandates in the Quran and gives them the authority, sometimes, not all the time, to kill if they have to kill some infidels who stand in their way. And it's in the Quran, it's in their book, and I cannot understand when Muslims come today. This is not only my understanding of Islam, it's the reality of Islam. So they come and say Islam is a religion of peace. And I tell them it cannot be a religion of peace if you go kill for your God. And you're praising your God by killing Jews, by killing infidels, and your God is telling you this is a way to worship me. And your prophet, your highest example, your highest model, is a killer himself and a rapist. And this is not something that I accuse him. This is something regarding to your most trusted books. Now, this is where I'm coming from. And when you are inside the situation, you don't think. You don't see it. You don't feel it because you're deceived. You grow up for Muslim parents. They are deceived. And they are deceiving you because also they are deceived. And their duty to deceive you and deceive everybody else. And if they want, not because they're evil, because they have no other choice. And they think that they are doing the right thing. What I say, that Islam is a perfect lie. Later on, when I worked with intelligence, in order to make a perfect lie that make everybody believe, politicians, religious people, everybody, media, we used to bring the lie and cover it or wrap it with layers of truths, facts, moralities, and make from a lie a perfect lie that everybody will believe it. And I say, from that I learned how Islam is a perfect lie. This is why we have 1.5 billion Muslims deceived and victims of this crazy idea. Why? Because it has some moralities, it has facts, it has some truths, but it's covering the poison, the deadly lie that is destroying them, destroying their souls, and driving them to destroy everybody else. Some of you might disagree with me. And I understand that. It's very hard. And I don't want to look like extremist, because I'm just saying the truth about this religion. And this is my duty. If I offend people, that's not my goal. And I am sorry if I'm offending anybody. But that's my duty, and I have to say the truth. This is why I was called. Later on, that was my dream, my goal, and still my father's dream, and every Palestinian and Muslim dream, to establish this Islamic global state and bring happiness, justice to humans. Of course, as a Palestinian, there is a bonus for us to adopt Islam in our lives, because the God of Islam hates Jews. He describes them in the Quran as the sons of monkeys and pigs. So there is ideological support for Palestinians to hate Israelis, and it exists in the Quran. Their highest authority, which is Allah, Allah is their highest authority, and to them He is God Almighty. He hates the Jews, and He doesn't in fact give enough reasons. Maybe He would say they disobeyed me, but as I see even Muslims disobeying the God of the Quran, and He doesn't hate them as much as He hates the Jews. Beside this ideological problem, we have the political problem, as Israel, occupied the Palestinian territories and forced some, not all the Palestinians, the refugees today, were forced to leave their farms and their villages. But some of them were forced. And this is enough reason for Palestinians to hate Israel and hate Jews. I hated Jews, and I thought the best way to take revenge is by killing Jews. And when I was 17 years old, I said, you arrested my father many times, and you shoot at me, you tried to kill me, settlers. I was witnessing lots of death. I was living next to a cemetery where it was like the drain of blood from all the city. All the bodies would come there just next door. And I witnessed lots of death during the first Palestinian Intifada. Now, to me, who's causing all this death? The enemies of Allah, the enemies of Palestine, the enemies of Muslims. And there was enough reason to just hate and try to take revenge. At age of 17, I decided to buy guns. And I wanted to be a hero. By the way, to buy guns and shoot at Jews, this is something, you become a hero for that nation. That's why I'm saying that everybody is participating and everybody is partnering in this. When you praise a suicide bomber, when you praise a fighter and you say what they're doing is amazing, you're encouraging them. You're giving them cover. Even if you're a moderate and you're not doing it yourself. Excuse me. So I wanted to become a hero. That's a dream of every Palestinian child. Children in other nations, they want to become doctors and lawyers. In Palestine, children want to become doctors and lawyers. At the same time, they want to become heroes. So because of that, you will find engineers, doctors, carrying guns and fighting for the glory of Allah and the nation, trying to gain respect, trying to fit into the society by killing Jews. What I tell them through the experience that Israel is not your biggest enemy. And this is what I understood later on. Through long experience, in fact. That's not one night decision. Just to let you know, the transformation, I paid very lots of time and effort to study, and I have enough experience to say what I'm saying. It's not just the Israelis brainwash me, or they're paying me to say that, or I have some personal agendas to get that. It's just the truth. And I have also my problem with the Israeli government. We can talk about this later on. So I'm not praising nation against nation. I'm just saying the truth, because this is the only way for peace in the heart of individuals, first, in the Middle East. Second, maybe we'll solve the problem. But the most important step that we have to know the truth of our enemy, who's really our enemy, and is it Israel or maybe ourselves, maybe the God that we worship every day, maybe he's our biggest enemy. Now, that was my plan, to kill a Jew, and I bought guns, and I was arrested before I did anything. And I was tortured brutally. 3 months under the ground. For you who know Jerusalem, in West Jerusalem, there is the Russian compound, under the ground facility that nobody wants to go there. It's just amazing. I sometimes even cannot imagine what was really happening there. I was tortured, and I explained some of this torture, what was really happening, and I'm not in a position to talk about this now because we don't have lots of time. But I was tortured, and to add to my original hate to the Jews, now I have a personal problem also for being tortured. And during that time, an Israeli Shin Bet agent comes and he simply offers me a job. And says like, is this guy idiot or what's his problem? They're torturing me. They're killing my people. They're arresting my father. And he's here to offer me to work for them. What's his problem? And what kind of offer that can convince somebody in my position to really work for the Jews? And I thought about this. I said, okay, this is my great opportunity. I'm going to say yes to this offer. I'm going to fool them. I'm going to make them trust me and destroy them and really kill them from the inside. So that was my goal. 18 years old. After that, I was transferred to prison where other Hamas members. The Israeli Shin Bet told me, I thought, okay, are you going to release me now? Because I promised to work for you. They said, if we release you, it will be uncovered that you work for us. You have to spend some time. It will be a short time in Israeli prison. And after that, you get out and we will work together. So the short time was 16 months. And during that time, second day I arrived to prison, I discovered that Hamas had a brutal torture against its own members. Why? Because they had suspicion about some people in the organization who gave information to the Israeli intelligence about the organization. And now their method was torture to get information. Practically, I was in a relationship with the Israelis. But my goal wasn't to betray my people and my movement. But I started to think, why do I hate Israel? Because it tortured me. And I don't hate Hamas because Hamas is torturing my friends, and if they know about me, they will torture me as well. Later on, they knew about me because I told them, I need your logistic support. Please support me. I want to kill some Jews. And they told me, they were afraid. They were suspicious, in fact. And they couldn't torture me because I was the son of a top Hamas leader. So add to the problem, they were hypocrites. And I decided that there is a big problem that I need to think more carefully about where I'm going in the future of my life. Of course, I was released and I was really hurt to see, yes, Israel tortured me, but, they had at least information that I had guns and I had a plan to kill. But Hamas tortured most people, they were victims. And I know for sure that they were victims, especially later on after I was in a relationship with the Israelis. I was released from the prison. I met with the Israeli Shin Bet. And it's a long story. You can have it in the book in details. But later on, I became friends with the Israeli Shin Bet guys that I wanted to kill. Which is a crazy transformation. But it happened. And I explain it logically in the book. So it didn't happen overnight. It wasn't a fast decision. It took several years, in fact. And we became very good friends. We became even family. And I found myself, what I'm doing? Am I a traitor? Did I end up a traitor? After having all those values, hating Israel, hating everybody who collaborates with Israel, what my family will think about me? What about my father? I'm going to lose. I'm losing myself somehow. And I was confused. I could turn my back and just ignore the fact that even I met the Israelis one day. I told them, sorry guys, I cannot do this, and because I simply can't. But the second Palestinian Intifada started. And I found myself in the heart of the leadership of Hamas and the PLO and every Palestinian faction. Have information about suicide bombers, have information about plans for the Intifada. And I found myself in a position that I could save human lives, Palestinians and Israelis, my father's life even. And I was, should I do the right thing or just not to do it because it's shameful? The worst reputation for a Palestinian, for a man in the Middle East, to get for himself to collaborate with Israel, with the enemies. This is the worst thing. And shame, the entire culture is based on shame and honor. It's not like here. It's based on right and wrong. So when there is something, you say, okay, this is right, this is wrong, that's it. There, if it's right and shameful at the same time, nobody wants to do it. And if it's wrong and honor, everybody wants to do it. Like suicide bomber. Why suicide bombers keep going? Because it's honor thing that brings honor to the family. And even the mother just lost her child and she's keeping a big smile on her face. And everybody is coming to celebrate that event, not to show their sympathy of the lost. So this is the mentality of that society that's built on shame and honor. Now, in that position, to keep going in order to save human lives, I brought lots of shame on myself. And we could save hundreds of lives. And I'm just shocked by some media when they say we exaggerated about this. No, we didn't exaggerate about that. That's the reality of it. It's what we did. And the Lord put on my heart that this is the right thing to do. After I became a friend with the Israeli Shin Bet, I met a Christian evangelist, a cab driver from England, and he invited me to a Bible study. I went to the Bible study. I started to read the Bible, the New Testament, Matthew, Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus Christ said, love your enemy. And during that time, the enemies that I wanted to kill, practically, they were my best friends. And I said, that makes lots of sense. If I read that verse 5 years earlier, I would say that Jesus is an idiot, you know. I would I would think like this. I would through the Bible and just ignore it totally. But at that time, it made perfect sense to me that your problem is not with a nation. Your problem is not with a man. Your problem is not with Israelis or Palestinians. Your problem with different type of enemy. And I start to be more and more convicted of Jesus Christ's teachings, and I adopted his teachings as a fuel for that journey. While I was alone, my family had no idea what I was doing. I was doing all this by myself. I was attending a church that people look at me suspiciously and think, what this terrorist is doing here? Because I was to them a terrorist. I had to act like a terrorist. That was part of my job, to carry a gun and act. That was my game. To be able to hang out with other terrorists. But I was fighting terrorism. And totally by myself, alone. The only fuel during that time, I wasn't even Christian during that time. The only fuel that I had, the standards of Jesus Christ. The teachings of loving your enemy, loving everybody unconditionally, no matter who they are. And of course, 6 years after I studied Christianity and I restudied Islam, I decided to convert to Christianity and get baptized. I'm not a religious person, as I told you in the beginning. And I think Christianity is not a religion. People who wants to put the God of the Bible in the box of religion, I think they don't have the right to do that. And I think Jesus Christ and the God of love is much bigger than religion. It's much bigger than a building or a church or even a nation. It's about humanity, that everybody is his children, and he cares about everybody, and he loves everybody unconditionally. Those are the things that attracted me to Christianity. It wasn't the sermon of this great pastor or that great religious person that didn't get my attention. I grew up in a Christian town. I had many Christian friends, and I never seen in them a good example of love and forgiveness. I don't want to look like I'm preaching now because I don't know how to preach. So later on, when I was working with the Shin Bet, I had to make very tough decisions. The Israeli government was really hurt. Many people were killed. I remember once the Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon was going to the Knesset or to his office, and on his way, a Assad bomber blew himself up in a bus. And the Prime Minister stopped where the terrorist attack happened, and he had the chance to see his people turn apart. And I'm telling you, you don't want even to think how crazy the picture, because all the time, I would have the pictures to identify a side bomber here and there, to know who sent him. And the picture, the smell, everything is really horrible. And now the Prime Minister would go and make a decision. Kill, assassinate everybody who's affiliated with Hamas. Kill everything breathes Hamas. And they would come to me and it's like, we got to get some names. And my Shin Bet handler, who we became very good friends, he's a hero of mine. He knows that I am against killing, no matter what. But he knows that I'm a very important figure in this process because I was the one who could bring all the names. So he doesn't want to get me involved in that. And we would try to work together, try to arrest those guys without killing them. The Prime Minister made his decision based on weakness. He was in a very weak position when he made such a decision. He wasn't strong enough to face the problem with a different method. So for us as human beings at that time, we start to think, my father was on the top of their hit list. And the Shin Bet would try to hide the pictures of my father from the table where we're sitting. And they tell me, it's like, we're not going to target your father. And because of my involvement with the Shin Bet. Now, the Israeli cabinet would tell the Shin Bet, why this guy's still alive? All his friends are dead. And the Shin Bet is saying, it's like, we cannot get a hold of him. What can we do? And the Shin Bet knew where my father was for 3 years continuously. Everybody was fooled in this. That's why I'm telling you, be careful from intelligence. I'm telling you. Not everything that you see on TV is real. I have a chapter in the book I call it The Game, how we fooled everybody. I'm sorry that we don't have lots of time to talk about all those details, but isn't it amazing? I trusted my enemies that I wanted to kill with my father's life, and they were trustworthy. They protected him. I remember when the incursion, they gave orders to the IDF, Israeli Defense Forces. This house, you don't enter this house. That's it. And my father was in that house. And the troops came and searched all the houses in the area except that house. And my father told me, you won't believe what happened. What did happen? They searched every house except this house. Praise Allah. I told him, it's like, yeah, thank you very much. So the troops are looking for my father. And the IDF, it's like, they couldn't find him. And he was protected by his enemies. And he had no idea, by the way, that he was protected by them. He had no idea that his son was working for the Shin Bet, given all type of information about him, about his meetings, about even his personal life. And by the way, many of the Shin Bet guys fell in love with my father for his personal life, for the values that he has as a person. And they were shocked and amazed with the way he behaved. Because that, I'm telling you, our problem is not with terrorists. Even many times, we'd look at terrorists and see it's like, they're amazing people. But they're deceived They are victims of their own God, of their own culture. Anyway, so it was a big game. Nobody knew about it, and they had to live undercover. You can say Christian, Israeli Shin Bet, all of it undercover. I had different hats that I used to wear, every day for different occasions. Now, after many years of fighting terrorism, and I can say that I developed lots of methods, and I discovered the reality of Hamas while Israel was fighting Hamas for many years. Not because I was a member of Hamas. I've never been a member of Hamas. This is why Hamas is shocked. They are shocked. He doesn't know much. And this is what my father said. Yes, I agree with him. But what I'm sorry to say that, but I used my father and his position to build a huge social network inside the organization that nobody could have. I was friends with every possible terrorist and leader, not only of Hamas, and other Palestinian factions. Using that thing, social network, small information from here, from there, we could make the picture clear all the time. I wasn't informant. Most of the time, I didn't bring information. The Shin Bet would bring information that didn't make sense to them. I sit down, I look at it, okay, makes perfect sense to me. Here is the solution. And here, what I think. And most of the time it worked. So now when they said exaggerating, yes, experts, they would think, okay, one person couldn't make all this progress, saving the Israeli president life and bringing all the terrorists behind bars. But God gets the credit. The God of love gets the credit, not me. I am not a hero, and I don't even remember how I was successful in that job. But later on, after studying the problem, this is what I figured out, that we were fighting a ghost. And today, Israel is still fighting a ghost, and America is fighting a ghost. I understood that our problem is with their ideology. It's not with the terrorist himself. Our problem with what drives them. This is why when I say, I'm very clear, and it looks very offensive when I say about the God of Islam, about the Quran, about the Prophet of Islam. And this is out of experience. It's not just because I dreamed about this or somebody told me about it. I lived that reality. Those wonderful young men, 19, 20 years old, they leave their schools, they're smart people from good families, and all the time we're shocked of a new suicide bomber. How come they become suicide bombers? Their ideology. Our problem is with their ideology. Our problem is with their God, with their prophet. I cannot understand when people come and say Islam is a religion of peace. It's not a religion of peace. Muhammad is the model of every Muslim. He's the highest example. As Jesus Christ is the highest example for every Christian, Muhammad is the highest example for every Muslim. So we ask Muslim a simple question. Did Muhammad kill people who didn't want to collaborate with him? From your sources, did he do that? They have no choice but to answer yes, because it's in their most trusted books. Does your God mandate the killing in the Quran? They cannot ignore the fact. It isn't there. And for what reason? To enslave earth. That's the goal. So, from this, we see that our problem with their ideology, with their prophet, with their God, and it's very clear, there is no way to defend Islam. Now, Muslims are a different story. Muslims are wonderful people. I'm traditionally a Muslim, and I'm still a Muslim. I keep the culture. Many of beautiful things in that culture, and I believe that my people are wonderful people. But this doesn't validate the God of Islam. And this is what most Muslims, the majority of Muslims, don't understand Islam, don't understand the Quran, and most of them are not terrorists. So they look at themselves and they say, we're not terrorists. But this doesn't make Islam a religion of peace. If you're peaceful people, you're deceived. And you're victims of this religion. You need to take the cover of this crazy idea of Islam. Now, when we talk to Muslims, It's very simple. You don't have even to argue with them. And by the way, this is not your duty, it's our duty. And there are thousands of people who are coming to the faith of love, the faith of Jesus Christ, crossing the river from the darkness to the light. And we are all working together. This is our duty to help our people understand and liberate them. They need liberty. This is what they need. They need freedom. They're fighting Israel. Why? Because there is ideological problem and there is a religious war, by the way. By my statements, I am not starting a religious war. There is a religious war already. And when you make this war, ideological war, you're safe. Because ideology can clash with ideology safely, especially today with technology, internet, satellite. There is no danger. One ideology has to win. And in my opinion, it's the ideology of love versus the ideology of hate. It's that simple. If you want to make it, if we make it Christians versus Muslims, then it will be a problem. And it will be dangerous and religious war. Now, Muslims fight for Palestine because they believe that Palestine, or that land, the Holy Land, is an Islamic trust. And I believe the fight is between the God of the Quran and the God of Islam, and the God of the Torah. The God of Torah promised this land to the Jews. And the God of Islam promised also this land to the Muslims. So Muslims are not fighting because it's another Islamic country or another Arab country. They have ideological reasons for this fight. And that's why they are dying for it. Now, when we have an ideological problem, we need ideological solution. We cannot provide a political solution for an ideological problem. This is why everybody is failing there. And even if they will establish a Palestinian state that everybody is trying to force a Palestinian state, I guarantee you that there's not going to be peace in the Middle East. I guarantee you, because peace starts in every individual's heart before it's on paper. And so how can we solve the ideological problem? It's very simple and it's fun. I'll tell you how. Why Jerusalem is important for Muslims? Because Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, told his followers that he flew on a donkey from Mecca to Jerusalem and came back in the same night. That's it. This is why Jerusalem is very important. And I tell Muslims, do you really believe that your Prophet flew on a donkey from Mecca to Jerusalem? If they really believe in that, crap. You know, is that a bad word? Then it's like, good luck, then it's their problem. But they need first to understand, most Muslims don't know those realities about Islam. They believe that he's a prophet. Okay, so I asked them, a prophet, what's his prophecy? Guess what? The only prophet that the history have known or has known doesn't have a prophecy. He forgot to tell his people the prophecy before he died. I tell him, is he a prophet or a messenger? If he's a prophet, give me his prophecy from the Quran. I want to hear it. And don't tell me the tales of your grandmothers. The guy doesn't have prophecy. So why you call him prophet? The guy, you know, even let's say, even any other religion, at least, you know, let's say they lied in the Bible. But at least they knew how to lie, because when they said this is a prophet, they provide with a prophecy. But this guy lied, and he didn't know how to lie. He said, I'm a prophet, and didn't tell his people the prophecy. Then, what's his miracle? His miracle is the flying donkey. And who really knew, this is, guys, you know, this is the reality of Islam. I'm not, this is from their books. Maybe I say it in a funny way, but this is exactly how it's described in their books. So, miracle. Usually prophets and men of God did miracles in order to convince people and prove that they're coming from God. And in this case, Muhammad did the miracle, and the donkey was the only witness. He flew on a donkey, and he doesn't have witnesses. He did it during the night. There is no even one witness for that. So this is the type of religion that we are dealing with. And they come, we respect everybody and we love everybody. Yes, as Muslims, you do. I don't. Most of you are wonderful people, but if you follow the steps of your prophet, you're going to be terrorists, all of you. He went to I'm sorry, I'm about to finish. He went to a Jewish town called Khaybar in the Arab Peninsula, and he asked the leader to give him the treasure. And I'm telling you now about the resources of Islam. And the guy didn't want to tell him where the treasure of that nation was. So he tortured him till death. He killed his brothers. He killed his entire clan, every man in that clan and or tribe, and took their women and children slaves. He got married to the wife of the tribe's clan the same night after he killed her husband and her uncle and brother. This is from the Islamic most trusted book, Al-Bukhari. So if this is the example of your prophet, and by the way, they don't explain why did he do that? A rapist. Your prophet is a rapist. No, you're offending us, I'm not offending you. This is regarding to your books. I'm reading from your books, from your Quran. This is not something that I learned and I misunderstood. It's the story, the way it is. So we're dealing with, Muslims have two options. If they understand Islam totally, completely, they have two options: to become all terrorists like their prophet and rapists and destroy everything beautiful. The other choice, to say that we are not Muslims. They cannot say that we are good Muslims. There is no chance, or moderate Muslim. If you're a Muslim, you're a Muslim, or you're something else. Because of that, we need to educate Muslims, first of all, about their religion, liberate them. I want to end with this thing about son of Hamas. It was a big challenge. I wouldn't do it for any amount of money, by the way. It just, what it brought, the disaster that it brought into my life, it's bad. I didn't want to lose my family because I love my father, I love my mother, I love my people also. And nobody wants to look like a traitor. But those are the weapons, these are the weapons that the God of Islam use against Muslims. The demons of shame, guilt, and fear. Everybody is ashamed. And nobody wants to carry the cross of the shame, even if what they're doing the right thing. Nobody wants. So I saw all the red lines. I looked at them and I said, will I cross the red lines and destroy this wall and open the way for others, people better than me, maybe great thinkers, maybe people with wonderful ideas, that they are there, but they are afraid because they don't want to be accused of being traitors. So what's the worst thing? What's the worst reputation can come to me if I go public and say I worked for Israel? That was another challenge. The first challenge was to work with Israel. Now, why do I want to go public? I could save it. Many Christians tell me, it's like, this is not good for the reputation of Christianity. Everybody now is accusing us that, we're taking sides. No, we're not taking sides. I didn't take sides. I took side of the humanity. I was against the Israeli Shin Bet when they decided to kill human being, even a terrorist. I was against that. I was very clear about it. 10 years of working with the Shin Bet, I am not responsible for killing even a terrorist. And I kept my morals and kept my, I didn't lose my soul for the agendas of any government. So now, this is the worst thing can happen to a human being, shame. And this, nobody wants to carry this cross. And I had to cross all the red lines. Shame, then guilt. What about your mother? Your mother, your father, they suffered. You are witnessing. You witnessed their suffering. How you're gonna live for the rest of your life thinking about your mother? Just for your mother. Guilt. I'm not going to feel guilty. Then fear. They will kill you. They're gonna kill you for sure for that. And I said, this is not the worst thing that can happen to me. And this is why I decided to write Son of Hamas, to cross all those red lines for people, I think, who understand this is the power, I think, of this project. It's not about the story by itself, just what it took a man to get this story and this book to the light. And I'm very glad that I did this. It was the best thing that I've done in my life. Yes, I might be wanted by some terrorists. They want to kill me, and I am okay with that. I'm at peace. I'm enjoying my life. And I love this country. And I am very grateful for everybody here. And thank you very much for coming tonight. Thank you for the support. And God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Step aside for a moment. Thank you, Mosab. We have time for Q&A. That's where you get to ask a very short question, and Mosab gets to answer it. So if you'd like to ask a question, and if you can keep your question in the form of a question, that would be extra credit for that. And if you can keep it under 14 syllables, you get a free DVD. How's that? And if you, okay? You ready? Anybody going to step up to the plate here? No? Henry Petrie? Go ahead. All right. Anybody but Carl. Carl, no, please. Okay. Carl, and then Henry.
I want to get that free DVD.
And then you get you'll get a free DVD if you keep it under 14 syllables. But this is base 10, so 14.
Thank you. I wonder if you'd comment a little bit about the suicide bombers. One of the theories that I've heard discussed, and I'd like you to comment on what you know from Hamas about this, is that when Sharon was prime minister, there's a population issue within Israel. There's about 1 million Palestinians to 6 million Jews. And the Palestinians are having children at a rate of 10 or 12 children per family, where the Jews are having 1 or 2 children. And so the whole idea was that Sharon was bringing more and more Jews from Eastern Europe into Israel. The suicide bombers were to basically stop that flow of 1 million. I think Sharon had a plan for 1 million a year or something like that. Anyway, the point is, could you address the population issue? Because in the next 50 years, if you look at the demographics, there is a population issue there. Did that play into the suicide bomber program at all that Hamas was sponsoring? And could you just maybe give a little background on that, please?
Excuse me, Carl, I think you owe me a DVD.
Yep. This guy's amazing. He didn't have this sense of humor last night. But I still enjoyed his sense of humor today. Side bombers. This is one of the, you can analyze this as much as you want. And this is the first time, by the way, I would hear something like this. It affected the immigration to Israel. But I think it didn't stop it. Because I think Jews who wants to go and live in Israel, like anybody, like an American who wants to go and live in Israel, they have the right to do that. If they can buy a property, if they can, they have a connection with that land. I think this is much stronger than some violence. And I think it's an ongoing process. But with suicide bombers, that was the cheapest weapon with the most effective impact or result for the terrorist organizations. They would buy cheap material that they use for farming, and they make a bomb out of it, and send a side bomber. It's easy, it's cheap, and it brings faster results, and it bleeds the enemy to death. And this is why I'm really concerned. I don't want to freak anybody out, but this is why I'm concerned about the last events that's happening now here in New York and Michigan, Fort Hood. Well, I'm saying that it seems that Al-Qaeda is learning from Hamas the method of bleeding the enemy. Hamas could carry much bigger attacks against Israel. But I was wondering all the time why they didn't want to do that. They know that they cannot destroy Israel all at once because they might destroy themselves also. So they wanted to bleed Israel gradually. And this is what Al-Qaeda today is learning from Hamas. Not to make a big attack like September 11th, but a side bomber here, a car bomb there, and every couple of months or 6 months, and destroy the economy, destroy tourism, destroy even people. I mean, the impact of this type of events on the American individual, I think it will be very destructive. And this is what I'm afraid of. I hope that this is not going to happen, and I hope that local security agencies will consider this and work harder to do preventive steps before it start to happen like this, because it's really dangerous. It's maybe more dangerous than a big attack like September 11th, in my opinion. Why did Hamas did that? Because it was easy. And all the time I used to criticize them. And I was also challenging my father and telling him, okay, suicide bombers, you know why? Because you don't have enough courage. You don't have enough courage to face soldier versus soldier. It's easy to send a side bomber dressing like a Jew and sit down in a bus and press a button. That's the coward, how the coward does things. And it was because it was easy. I don't think that they had this advanced strategy of stopping immigration, but it affected that. But the problem, I think, is over.
We probably won't get to everybody, just to warn you at the end of the line.
The political discourse today, in it, we often hear we're not opposed to Islam, we're opposed to violent terrorists. But you're encouraging a dialogue between ideologies to avoid violence. How do you think Christians can encourage that dialogue when there is a context of religion is the enemy, not and violent terrorists are the enemy, and we need to stay away from discussion about Christianity and Islam?
I believe, when Jesus Christ said that you're the light of the world, I believe that he meant times like this, when the powers of darkness trying to take over, deceiving people, using one day the liberty as excuse, and using other time violence. But it's serving the same enemy at the same time, or the same Lord. I think Christians have a huge duty, and not only Christians, every free man, every thinker. Even today, I tell people in the Middle East that our goal not to make a mass conversion to Christianity. We give you a free gift of love, unconditional love, forgiveness, all those great values. Would you accept them? This is the only way for you to get out of this endless circle of violence. And we give them those great values, and at the same time, we cannot ignore the fact that those values are Christian values. So who gets the credit? The teacher behind those teachings. Unconditional love. Nobody taught of that. Somebody being crucified and praying for his persecutors or people who killed him. This is the highest example for Christians, and this is the Lord that we worship, that He expressed his love and sacrifice with the language of blood, not just by teachings, practically. And this is what we give them as a way out of that situation. Yes, Christians have a great duty, and every anybody else. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. First, I want to somehow ask you that you are extremely late. I was waiting you for about 32 years to find out somebody that can talk something that I can relate to. Number two, I'm not going to, in all consideration for Eric, I'm not going to ask you how to solve the Palestinian-Israeli because I'll become a persona non grata at Socrates. So that will be avoided.
Too late.
Okay. And I came basically with 25 questions, and to my dismay, you answered them all. So
Wow.
I'm left with nothing. The only thing I was wondering, what would be the advantage, but doesn't have to be answered with 80 virgins. That creates a paradise. And also, the fight over something that's a deserted area. I mean, I've been in Israel, and it's amazing. If you guys are fighting over California, I could understand. But thank you very much.
Yeah.
It was extremely wonderful.
Thank you. God bless you. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, I confused you.
It's okay. First, thank God, and thank you for your courage and your witness in Christianity. It is.
Let's keep the thanks to God. I don't get any credit out of this.
And also, keep it in the form of a question.
Yes, sir.
I probably didn't mention that earlier. In the form of a question.
I'm an evangelist. I live in a hugely Muslim area, as well as New York is. Speak to us about dealing with the shame, the fear, and that aspect of how we may, both as Christians and people, respond to this mindset that goes on with Islam and Muslim.
I want to thank you for this question because it's very important. A point that I forgot to include. When you think about those, why I believe that religion is the necessary evil, and I'm talking about all religions, even Christianity. If you try to fit it into a box, you're going to have the same results. Conservatives and many people, we see this in churches, that people are destroyed because they had a bad reputation or they were persecuted and they feel guilty all the time. What I tell them, that Jesus Christ liberated us, and this is my simple understanding of the Bible. He liberated us from religion. And I think all humanity owes Jesus Christ the gift of liberty. And how did we achieve this liberty? Because he fulfilled religion and our works with his grace. So when we talk about the enemy of shame, guilt and fear, and the God who's causing this, versus what? Grace. So the only way to fight those enemies and those demons is grace. Other word, liberty. And let people free, worship whatever they want to do, and liberty that is committed to the Constitution as well. Because also the evil in this country, let's say Muslims trying to use liberty for destructive goals. I hope I answered.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Hi.
Hi.
You said you never had a human witness of true Christianity, so I'm just wondering how you, or who first told you, or how you first personally understood Jesus as the God of love.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question.
Oh, did someone witness to you about Jesus? How did you first come to understand that you could have Jesus in your life as the God of love?
Yes, the first people I studied the Bible with, in fact, I owe them a lot. Some of them showed an amazing example of Christ. Some of them didn't. And some of them, by the way, and the best, My best friends that I studied the Bible for the first time with, they gave up on me when I shared with them my relationship with the Shin Bet. They led me to the Lord, and in the middle of the way, they gave up on me because it was very dangerous. So what I can say is that I learned through my journey with the perfect God that I cannot rely on man, no matter what. Till this moment, without Christian support, like today, or the letters sent into the Homeland Security asking them not to deport me. Of course, this is a great support, and I owe all those people. And I'm very grateful for every Christian who stood by my side, and even the Christians who didn't, because I know that they were praying for me as well. Even the ones who got afraid at some point, and still may be afraid, they don't want to get involved in this dangerous journey. And I understand that. I don't judge them, but my focus on Him alone, the perfect one, the perfect man and the perfect God. Yeah. Thank you.
So did Eric bring you here because you're one of the few who's willing to call a spade and tell us what to do about it? Or did he bring you here because you're shorter than he is?
I'm not shorter than him. That was the best question of the night.
I would like to know what we in this room can do to help you and other Muslims who may be finding their way to Jesus. What can we do to support you and help you with your trials and your unique situation?
I really don't know. I don't have a ministry, and I don't want to have one. I have a ministry that I believe it's a TV, and they evangelize to Muslims. In fact, more than evangelizing to Muslims, first of all, they educate them about Islam. It's called Al Hayat TV. It's somebody from Muslim background. I wish he could come today. 25 years ago, he came to the Lord, and he decided a couple of years later to evangelize for Muslims and challenge their faith. He was kicked out of the church. Christians said, this is not the way of Christianity. This is not how we do things, to confront with people. And he was rejected and disowned by his family. They wanted to kill him. And he started this amazing ministry. And I looked at this ministry, I said, why should I go and establish another ministry? Everybody wants to build a personal kingdom. And I said, I don't want to do that. I'm not a preacher. I am just a sinner, maybe the worst sinner. And I'm just living by the Lord's grace. I'm enjoying liberty in the Lord. And all I need, just, you to understand what I'm saying. If I could communicate with you, this is the best thing that you can help me with. That's all. Yeah.
Thank you. God
Yeah,
bless you.
Hi, my question is about Pakistan, and I was wondering if does Hamas receive any funding or political support from Pakistani government or Pakistani jihadi groups?
Yeah, a lot. In fact, Hamas had concentration camps to train its members, trains its explosive experts or bomb makers. That was during the early 90s. And I believe that they're still doing that. Maybe they are more careful, especially after, the American attempt to stop terrorists in Pakistan. But at some point, they were just going there any time. In fact, one of my missions that we were discussing on the table, to go on a spy mission to Pakistan for a couple of years, and because all the terrorists were trained in Pakistan. And after that, it wasn't the best idea for me and for the Shin Bet, and I stayed there. But Pakistan is a huge source of supporting of terrorism. And what I'm afraid of all the time when I hear Pakistan, how the United States, from the example of Gaza Strip, how the United States supported Mahmoud Abbas, Abu Mazen, a moderate Muslim and Palestinian leader. They supported him with everything, with lots of money. They built his army, and they armed them, they funded them. And in one night, Hamas, in a coup of one night, they took over Gaza Strip. So I'm saying now, supporting the Pakistani government. And when we talk about Pakistan, it's a nuclear power. They have a nuclear bomb. Well, I'm afraid of that one day we will wake up in the morning hearing about a coup in Pakistan and find some fanatics in charge of a nuclear bomb. This is something I'm really concerned about, not only training some Hamas people. So this is why the best way just to challenge their ideology. This is the best way to stop extremism. And we have to be firm. We have to be firm. I might look extremist. This is why many of New York media turned my story down, because okay, he left Islamic extremism and today he's a Christian extremist. And they need to understand the difference between extremist and somebody who's saying the truth firmly. So this is my biggest concern about Pakistan. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess the last question, I feel a lot of pressure. So hopefully this will be a good one. Or actually, no, I'm not, so the pressure's off. I lived in a Muslim country, and there was a lot of discussion. You said a lot of Muslims don't understand the faith well, and hearing you tonight, I see that. They do talk about it as a religion of peace, and there's not killing infidels is not. It's in the Quran, but it's obfuscated, and I felt like there was a lot of hiding that went on. My question is, given the way you described it as the killing of people get in the way of Islam as integral to the faith, is there really a solution? I mean, to challenge ideology, as you described to the last questioner, is challenging their faith. So how do you do that? I mean, I do think America is very vulnerable right now, and Americans aren't used to being vulnerable, so they're not very good at it. So I don't think Americans understand the threat of being bled over time. But if that's really the ultimate goal here, if you think that's the mission with the United States, how can we fight that when challenging the ideology means challenging Islam itself?
Yeah. That's a good question, in fact. So I'm telling you, it's not the responsibility of a government. I work with governments, and I don't want to be in the shoes of a government facing this type of problems, because they don't have a solution for the problem. And in this case, what's so great about this country, that it's in a very dirty war with terrorism, but it kept its liberty and the values of liberty. And I think this is how God likes it. So I don't want to criticize the government, because I am not in their shoes. I don't understand what they're really facing. I think they know the truth, and they're trying to work things out. I might disagree with some of the statements of the President Obama, but it's not, I think, Obama's problem. I think it's the U.S. government policy, foreign policy, dealing with Islam. I think they understand the danger of Islam, but they don't know how to deal with it. So this is the responsibility of every individual, thinkers, writers, authors. And today we have the ability to outreach everybody, everywhere in the world. It doesn't have to be a U.S. government policy or a new policy that we force. And I think the change will happen gradually. The change doesn't happen at what night, and you cannot force this type of change. It has to come. But the good thing, why I'm very hopeful, that events in our world today happen very fast. What it used to take 50 years to happen, today it takes maybe 5 months, maybe 5 days. The change is really fast with this information revolution. So I'm not worried about the future. We will be able to fight this enemy. I am sure that we will. We have at least a desire. And humanity had big problems, and we could survive finally. It's an ideological problem. At least what I ask the government, just if they cannot do this type of job, and I'm telling you again, this is not the duty of a government. It's very difficult. I'm coming from a political family. I worked with lots of politicians who worked in war zones, which is the most difficult type of politics to do. And I know that every politician is limited. Don't think that the United States, if you become the United States president tomorrow, you think you will be able to solve the problem immediately? I don't think so. I don't want to be in that shoes at all. I think you will be limited to the Constitution, limited to the institutions of the government, and it's not up to one person. But it's good to challenge the government and hold them accountable to higher standards. I don't know, did I confuse you, or did I answer the question?
I'm afraid that does have to be the last question. Mosab, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mosab. It's a privilege to have you with us. We're very grateful to you for coming tonight. If you enjoyed this event, let me underscore to you that Socrates in the City depends on the kindness of strangers and friends. To become a patron of Socrates in the City, it's $5,000 a year. It's very difficult for us to do what we do. We don't like to talk about it very much, but we have to talk about it sometimes. If you are a person of means and are looking for things to which you might contribute, we would be very grateful to you. We could sincerely use your money to continue doing things like this evening. We want to continue to do it, but we genuinely cannot do it unless you help us out. So if you're that sort of a person, think about it, pray about it, and then write a check in any case, because that's really that's the point. Whatever God tells you, just write a check, because I'm telling you. Don't pray too hard. I would really want to make a couple of quick announcements. First of all, Mosab is going to sign books. The books are available for sale in there. We don't have a lot of time, so please don't talk to him. Just sign the book and move on, because we need to get him upstairs to the patrons' dinner really in just a few minutes. So I'm asking you to do that. The patrons' dinner, we're not disclosing the location of the patrons' dinner because we have security, honestly. So we need you to meet us out by the elevators in about 10 minutes. Please cooperate with us. The book and CD table. As you know, we have books and CDs. The whole point of Socrates in the City is not just these evenings, but to lead you into a deeper conversation. You can get CDs of tonight will be available. You can get the book. There are other books, other CDs. We want to encourage you, please avail yourself of these resources. They're quite wonderful. Tonight's not the only wonderful night we've ever had. We've had incredible speakers. Most of you know that. Please avail yourself of that. And again, we do have DVDs, high-quality DVDs of the April 9th event. There will be more to come. Those are for sale right now. Thank you to all the volunteers, all the helpful volunteers. Thank you to the security. So good so far. Very good. We have our first Socrates in the City debate coming up on September 13th. It's going to be Dinesh D'Souza versus Peter Singer. It's going to be at the New York Society of Ethical Culture. It's going to be September 13th. Mark your calendars. We'll be sending out invitations to that. And thank you. I did say that well, didn't I? Thank you. And also, we're not sure about summer events yet. We're working on a couple events. We may have an event in the Hamptons on July 3rd, but we're still trying to work out those details. If we don't have your emails, please give us. People say to me all the time, "You dropped me off the email list." No, I didn't. Why would I do that? Although in the case of Rich Egan, whom I mentioned earlier, I did. That's the only case where I did that, but he had it coming. But please, if you're not getting these emails, go to our website and fill out the thing and put your friends' emails on there. Do whatever you want to do, but otherwise we can't communicate with you. So that's it. Please be orderly about the book signing, because we really do need to move this along, and there are a lot of you here tonight. We're grateful for your coming. Thanks for coming. God bless you.